I still remember the exact moment my fiancée's smile died. 1 second she was laughing, like she always did when she thought she was winning. The next second she was staring at the screen behind me, pale, shaking, frozen like her whole world just collapsed. Because the truth wasn't just out. It was projected, in front of her friends, in front of her parents, in front of mine. And worst of all, in front of the one person she had been secretly choosing over me for months. Her best friend, the same guy she swore was just like a brother. Yeah, that brother had his hands on her waist in my kitchen while she whispered into his ear like she didn't even care that I existed. And I had receipts. I had everything, so when she tried to cry and say, "This isn't what it looks like," I just leaned in and told her quietly, "It's exactly what it looks like, and now everyone knows." And that was the moment she realized I wasn't the one getting played anymore. I'm Jason, 29 years old, and at the time this happened, I honestly believed I was living the beginning of the perfect life. I had a stable job in IT, good savings, and I had just bought my first house in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Denver, Colorado. Not a mansion, but a real home. 2 floors, nice backyard, garage, finished basement. The kind of house that makes you feel like you finally made it. And the best part? I wasn't alone. I was engaged to Madison, 27, the woman I thought I was going to marry. Madison was charming. She was beautiful, social, the type of girl who could walk into a room and suddenly everyone's attention would shift. When she laughed, it felt like sunshine. And when she looked at you like you were the only person in the world, you believed it. I met her at a friend's party about 3 years earlier, and things moved fast. She loved to talk about our future, our wedding, our kids, our dream home. And when I finally bought that house, she cried and hugged me like it was the happiest day of her life. She kept saying, "This is our home, babe. Our forever home." I believed her. God, I really believed her. Madison had one close friend she always talked about, a guy named Tyler. Tyler was 28, tall, loud, always smirking like he knew something you didn't. He had this arrogant energy like he was the main character in every room. The first time I met him, he shook my hand like he was doing me a favor. Then he immediately said, "So you're the guy who finally got Madison to settle down?" I laughed awkwardly. Madison rolled her eyes playfully and said, "Tyler, stop." But Tyler didn't stop. He never stopped. Every time he came around, he made little jokes. Little comments like he was testing how far he could push me. "Oh, Jason, you're so quiet. Madison usually likes guys with more personality." "Oh, Jason, you're letting her drive." "Man, you're brave." "Oh, Jason, you sure you can afford this place? Madison's got expensive taste." And every time Madison would just laugh, not a nervous laugh, not an uncomfortable laugh. She laughed like it was funny, like I was supposed to just take it. At first, I told myself it was harmless. That Tyler was just one of those guys who jokes too much. That Madison was just trying to keep things light, but deep down it bothered me. Because it wasn't just jokes, it was disrespect, and it was constant. And what bothered me even more was how comfortable Tyler acted around Madison, like he belonged to her, like he had some claim over her. He'd sit way too close to her on the couch. He'd touch her shoulder when he talked. He'd whisper things in her ear and she'd giggle. And when I'd ask Madison about it later, she'd always say the same line. "Jason, relax. Tyler is like my brother." Like her brother, sure. If my sister's brother sat that close and touched her like that, I'd call the cops. When Madison moved into my house, it felt like a huge step. I was excited. I was proud. I even made a little welcome dinner. I cooked steak, roasted potatoes, grilled vegetables. I set the table, candles, music, the whole thing. And Madison walked in, looked around, and said, "Wow, it's crazy. It actually feels like my house now." That line should have been sweet, but something about it felt possessive. Like she wasn't grateful, like she was claiming something she didn't earn, but I ignored it, because I loved her. A few weeks later, Madison wanted to throw a housewarming party. She said it would be fun, and it would help us meet the neighbors. I didn't want to because I'm not a party guy, but she begged, so I agreed. She invited about 20 people, friends, coworkers, even her parents, and of course, Tyler. Tyler showed up like he owned the place, walked in, didn't even say hello to me. He immediately yelled, "Damn. Madison, you really upgraded." Then he slapped Madison's waist and laughed. I stood there frozen. Madison laughed too. Then Tyler looked at me and said, "No offense, Jason, but I didn't know you had this kind of money. You must be doing something illegal." People laughed. I forced a smile, but I felt humiliated. And I could see Madison enjoying it. She liked being the center of attention. She liked Tyler making jokes. She liked feeling like she was above me. And for the first time in our relationship, I felt like I was her roommate, not her partner. Later that night, I walked into the kitchen to grab more drinks. and I saw Madison and Tyler standing near the fridge. Close, too close. Tyler was leaning in, whispering something. Madison was smiling like she was in high school again. Then Tyler said something, and Madison laughed and lightly pushed his chest. And then Tyler's hand slid down her arm. Not accidental, not friendly. It was intimate. I cleared my throat loudly. They both turned. Tyler smirked. Madison's smile faded just slightly. I said, "Everything good," Tyler answered for her. "Yeah, man, we're just talking. Don't get jealous." Madison rolled her eyes and said, "Jason, don't be weird." Don't be weird. I stood there holding a pack of beers like an idiot. And suddenly I realized in my own house I was the outsider. After that party, things shifted. Madison started acting different, not cold exactly, but guarded. She kept her phone face down. She started taking calls in the bathroom. She'd go run errands for hours. And she'd come back in a good mood, too good, like she'd just had fun with someone else. One night I was sitting on the couch while she was scrolling on her phone. I leaned over to kiss her cheek. She jerked her phone away so fast it was almost dramatic. I frowned. She immediately smiled and said, "Sorry, reflex." Reflex. That word hit me like a punch. Because reflex doesn't happen unless you're hiding something. I tried to push it down, tried to be the secure boyfriend. But then I started noticing little things, like Tyler's name popping up on her screen constantly, Tyler texting her at midnight, Tyler calling her when I was right there. And Madison would always answer with a bright voice, like she was excited. More excited than she sounded when she talked to me. The moment everything really broke was on a Friday night. Madison said Tyler was coming over to help us plan the wedding playlist. I didn't even understand why Tyler needed to be involved, but Madison insisted. She said, "He knows music." So Tyler came over. And within 20 minutes he was acting like he lived there. He put his feet on my coffee table. He opened my fridge. He poured himself whiskey without asking. Then he looked at Madison and said, "Remember when we used to drink this in my apartment and you'd fall asleep on my chest?" Madison laughed. Then she said, "Oh my God, stop. Jason doesn't need to know all that." She said it like it was a cute secret. I stared at her. "Why were you falling asleep on his chest?" Madison waved her hand. "It was years ago. We were friends." Tyler smirked and said, "Yeah, friends." Then he looked at me and said, "You're a good guy, Jason, seriously." Madison needed someone stable. Someone stable, like I was a retirement plan. I stood up and said calmly, "Tyler, I think you should leave." Madison's head snapped toward me. "What, Jason, are you serious?" Tyler laughed. "Wow, insecure much?" I said. "It's not insecurity, it's respect. You don't talk like that in my house." And Tyler leaned back, looked Madison up and down, and said, "You sure you want to marry this guy? He's kinda soft." Madison didn't defend me, she just stared at me, annoyed. Then she said something that I will never forget. She said, "Jason, stop acting like a jealous little boy. Tyler's been in my life longer than you." That line, that was the moment my heart dropped. Because I realized I wasn't her priority, I was her convenience. And Tyler was her real emotional partner. I walked upstairs and slammed the bedroom door. I heard them laughing downstairs, laughing, while I was upstairs feeling like my world was collapsing. And then I heard Madison say something. It was muffled, but I heard it. She said, "Just ignore him, he'll calm down." He'll calm down, like I was a dog. The next morning, Madison acted like nothing happened. She made coffee. She kissed me. She said, "Good morning, babe." Like she didn't crush my pride the night before. I couldn't take it. I said, "Madison, why didn't you defend me?" She sighed dramatically. "Because you were being dramatic." I stared at her. "So Tyler can disrespect me in my own home and I'm dramatic?" Madison rolled her eyes and said, "Jason, you're making this bigger than it is." Then she grabbed her phone and walked away, but she left her laptop open on the kitchen counter, and I wasn't trying to spy, I swear, but her laptop started buzzing with notifications. And I glanced, and I saw Tyler's name, and the message preview said, "Last night was hot, I still taste you." My blood turned to ice, I froze, I stared at the screen like it was a nightmare. My hands started shaking. And before I could stop myself, I clicked. Because I needed to know if I was crazy, if I was paranoid, if I was wrong. But I wasn't wrong. The messages were right there, a full thread between Madison and Tyler. And it wasn't innocent, it wasn't friendly, it was explicit, it was emotional, it was intimate, it was betrayal. Tyler wrote, "I hate seeing you with him, you belong with me." Madison replied, "I know, but Jason's safe. Jason's stable." Then Tyler wrote, "You're still coming over tonight?" And Madison replied, "Yeah, Jason thinks I'm meeting my mom." I felt like I couldn't breathe. I scrolled more. And then I saw the message that completely destroyed me. Madison wrote, "After the wedding it'll be easier, he'll be locked in." locked in, like I was a trap she was setting, like marriage wasn't love, it was a cage. And I was the idiot walking into it. My first instinct was to storm upstairs and scream at her, but then I stopped. Because I realized something. If I confronted her now, she'd cry, she'd lie, she'd delete everything. And she'd turn me into the villain. So instead, I took pictures of everything. I used my phone and recorded the whole chat, screenshots, videos, proof. Then I logged out, closed the laptop, and acted normal. When Madison came downstairs, she smiled. "Everything okay?" I forced a smile back. "Yeah, just tired." And she kissed my cheek like she wasn't a snake. That night, she said she was going to her mom's. I watched her get dressed. She wore perfume, she wore lingerie. She didn't wear lingerie for me anymore. She kissed me quickly and said, "Love you." Then she left. And the second her car pulled out, I checked the location app. Because yes, we shared location. And her phone wasn't going to her mom's. It was going to Tyler's apartment, exactly like the messages said. I sat on the couch in silence. And something inside me just went cold. Not sadness, not rage, just clarity. The woman I loved wasn't real. She was a character, and I had been funding her life. The wedding was scheduled in 3 weeks. Everything was already paid. Venue deposit, catering deposit, photographer, DJ, invitations, her dress, my suit. Madison's parents had paid some. I had paid most. And Madison had been acting like a princess the whole time. Like I was lucky she chose me. And now I understood why. Because she didn't love me. She loved what I provided. And she loved having Tyler on the side, so I decided something. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight for a woman who was already gone. I was going to do something better. I was going to let her destroy herself. Publicly, because if she wanted to play games, then I was going to finish the game. And win. Madison had planned an engagement party at my house the next weekend. Her idea. She said, "It'll be cute, just close friends and family." I smiled and agreed. But inside, I knew exactly what it was going to be. It was going to be my stage. I invited my parents, my cousins, her parents, her friends. Even some coworkers, and of course, Tyler. Madison didn't know I had proof. She didn't know I was calm because I was planning. The whole week before the party, she acted like nothing happened. She even tried to be sweet. She cooked dinner one night. She hugged me. She kissed me more. She probably thought she was securing her safe option. But all it did was make me feel sick, because I knew where she was going after she said goodnight. I knew what she was doing when she told me she was too tired. I knew everything. And I stayed silent because I wanted her to feel safe. I wanted her to feel untouchable, so she'd walk right into my trap. The engagement party started at 6 p.m. People showed up dressed nice. Wine bottles, gift bags, laughing, music playing. Madison was glowing. She wore a white dress, hair curled, makeup perfect. She looked like the perfect bride. But all I could see was the betrayal under the surface. Tyler arrived around 7. He walked in like he owned the place again. He hugged Madison from behind and lifted her slightly off the floor. She squealed. Everyone laughed. And Tyler looked at me with that smug face and said, "Man, you're a lucky guy." Lucky, I almost laughed, but I didn't. I just smiled, because I knew he had no idea what was coming. Around 8 p.m., Madison clinked her glass and said, Everyone, Jason and I want to say a few words." She pulled me up beside her and she squeezed my hand, fake affection. Then she started talking. She told everyone how much she loved me. How I was her rock. How I changed her life. How she couldn't wait to be my wife. People clapped. Her mom wiped a tear. Her dad smiled proudly. And Tyler looked annoyed. Then Madison handed me the microphone. She whispered, "Say something sweet." I took the mic and I looked around the room and I realized this was it. This was my moment, so I smiled and I said, "Thank you all for being here. I'm really grateful." Everyone smiled. I paused. Then I said, "And before we celebrate this engagement, I want to show you all something important." Madison frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" I turned toward the TV in the living room, a big screen. I had already connected my laptop earlier, and I clicked play. The screen lit up. At first, it was just a simple slideshow. Pictures of Madison and me, trips, smiling, holding hands. People laughed. Madison smiled again, relieved. Then the slideshow stopped, and the screen switched to screenshots, text messages, Tyler's name at the top, and the first message was huge. "Last night was hot, I still taste you." The room went silent, dead silent. Madison's hand slipped from mine. Her face went white, her mother's smile vanished. Her father blinked like he couldn't process what he was seeing. And Tyler's smirk disappeared. The next screenshot came up. "After the wedding, it'll be easier. He'll be locked in," someone gasped, then another. "Jason thinks I'm meeting my mom." Madison whispered, "Jason, stop." Her voice cracked, but I didn't stop, because I wasn't doing this for drama, I was doing it for justice. Then the screen showed the final image, a picture I took from the security camera outside my house. Madison walking into Tyler's apartment building late at night, wearing the exact outfit she wore when she told me she was going to her mom's. The room erupted. Her mom started crying. Her dad stood up like he wanted to kill someone. My mom looked horrified. My dad's jaw tightened. And Madison started sobbing. Tyler tried to stand and shout, "This is private. This is messed up." But I turned to him and said calmly, "No, what's messed up is you sleeping with my fiancé and laughing in my house." Then I looked at Madison. She was shaking. She reached for me and cried, "Jason, please, please, it's not what it looks like." And I leaned in close enough that only she could hear me, and I said, "It's exactly what it looks like, and now everyone knows." Madison's father stepped forward. His face was red with rage. He looked at Madison and said, "Tell me this is fake." Madison couldn't speak. She just cried harder. Her mom kept repeating, "Madison, tell me this isn't true, Madison." Tyler tried to step in. "Sir, listen, she and I..." Madison's dad pointed at Tyler and yelled, "Get out of my sight." Tyler froze. Then Madison's dad looked at me, and his voice cracked. "Jason, I'm so sorry." That moment hit me hard, because her father looked genuinely devastated, not just embarrassed. Devastated, and Madison dropped to her knees in front of everyone, begging, "Jason, please, I love you, I swear I love you." And for a second, a tiny part of me wanted to believe her. But then I remembered those words. "He'll be locked in." So I stepped back, and I said loudly so everyone could hear, "I'm not marrying her." The room exploded again. Madison screamed, "No, no, please," and I looked down at her and said, "You didn't just cheat, Madison, you planned it." Tyler tried to grab Madison's arm. "Come on, Mads, let's go." And Madison yanked her arm away. "Don't touch me," she screamed at him like he was the problem now, like she wasn't the one who made the choice. Then she turned to me again. She crawled toward me. "I'll do anything, I'll cut him off, I'll change, please." And I said, "You already chose, you just didn't expect consequences." Then I pulled a folder from the kitchen counter. Because yes, I was prepared, I held it up, and I said, "This is the eviction notice. Madison, you have 48 hours to get your things out." Her face twisted in shock. "You can't do that." And I calmly said, "My name is on the deed." "Not yours." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. And Tyler started laughing nervously like he couldn't believe it. But then Tyler looked at Madison like he expected her to come with him. And she didn't. Because Tyler was never the plan. I was the stability, the house, the marriage, the locked in. And now she had nothing. Madison's parents left that night in silence. Her mom was crying the whole time. Her dad didn't even look at her. Madison stayed on the floor sobbing like a child. Tyler stormed out furious. My friends stayed behind. They hugged me. They told me I did the right thing. But honestly, I didn't feel victorious yet. I felt hollow. Because it's hard to accept that someone you loved was using you. But the next day, it got worse for Madison. Because her friends started unfollowing her. Her coworkers found out. Her wedding planner called. The venue demanded answers. And Madison's parents refused to cover anything. They told her, "You embarrassed this family, fix it yourself." Madison called me nonstop. She texted me hundreds of messages. She showed up at my house crying, begging, promising. But I didn't open the door, I just watched through the camera. And the saddest part? Tyler didn't show up for her once, not once, because Tyler never loved her. He just enjoyed stealing her, enjoyed feeling powerful, enjoyed humiliating me. And now that the game was over, he disappeared. 2 weeks later, Madison sent me one final message. It said, "I ruined everything. Tyler blocked me. My parents barely talked to me. I lost my friends. Please just talk to me. I need closure." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed one sentence, just one. "You got closure the moment you chose him." Then I blocked her, and for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. 3 months later, I heard through mutual friends that Madison tried to move in with Tyler after everything. But Tyler told her no. He said she was too much drama. Apparently, he even joked. She was fun until she tried to make it serious. And that was her karma, because she destroyed a serious relationship for something casual. She thought she was playing both sides, but she ended up with nothing. Her parents made her pay back wedding costs. She had to move into a tiny apartment with roommates. And her social media turned into sad quotes and healing journey posts. Meanwhile, I stayed in my house. The house she thought she was going to claim, the house she called ours, the house she planned to trap me in, and I renovated the guest room into my office. I repainted the walls, I changed the locks, I replaced the couch she picked out. I removed every single trace of her, because it wasn't her home, It was mine, and I finally felt free. Sometimes people ask me if I regret exposing her publicly, if I could have handled it privately. But here's the truth. Madison didn't just cheat. She mocked me. She let another man disrespect me in my own home. She laughed while I stood there feeling like nothing. So no, I don't regret it. Because if she wanted to humiliate me in private, then she deserved to be exposed in public. And honestly, watching her realize she lost everything in one night was the most closure I ever needed. Because the woman who thought she had me locked in was the one who ended up locked out.